Hello boys and girls, welcome to BenchART. I'm for Classic, and for today what I do have in here it is Biomutant, a game developed by Experiment 101, and it is using Unreal Engine 4. So the Experiment 101, it is guys from X Avalanche Studios, so X Just Cause developers, and this is their new game. So let's check out the results and see how it runs on my GTX 1650 Super. So with the AI settings, the game drops under 30 frames per second, so I don't really recommend. Median settings provides a good average of 75 frames per second, so 20% of the time of the game was below 60 frames per second, so median settings it was fine, but visually there were some stuff that weren't really pleasing about using it. Low settings provides an experience above 60 frames per second, but obviously it looks bad. And I've decided to go with my optimized settings, which is essentially textures on maximum quality, effects quality, shadows and post-processing set to median, and all the rest of the stuff it is set to high. So by using these, around 30% of the time the game was under than 60 frames per second. And you know me, you know that I usually care a lot about having an entire experience above 60 frames per second. But in this game it is actually not possible, unfortunately. So looking to the requirements, these guys recommend a GTX 1660 Ti, so we are below the recommended. So probably the 1660 Ti can deliver above 60 frames per second on high settings, who knows? But I honestly, I think probably it's not going to happen. So what is so annoying about the median settings, you might ask? The issue for me with the median settings, it is just the draw distance of the shadows and the lightning effects. So it gets really weird because you can see the shadows drawing in front of you if you use foliage on median and shadows on median at the same time. So that's why I decided to customize the settings, and I left the foliage quality of foliage distance at high, but I had kept the shadows on median because shadows are very, very demanding on this game. It is the most demanding setting, especially when you jump between median to high. There is a huge drop in frame rate if you use the high shadows, so that's why I'm keeping it to the median setting. So aside from that, I think the game visuals are really outstanding. The game map, the game environment, the grass, these vivid colors, and even the characters, they look really, really good. It is super amazing visually. It's an awesome experience to our eyes, in my opinion. It's just absolutely great. But for the rest of the game's sake, I mean, the reviews haven't been so great about it. Many people say that this game it is pretty generic, it doesn't offer anything new. So does Ubisoft, in my opinion. What the hell is new recently in Ubisoft games? Absolutely nothing. It follows the same trend. Although one indie developer releases a game which is more of the same as other games and gets fully criticized and say that it doesn't have soul. How the hell? This game doesn't have soul. Just look at these visuals, look at these characters. Yes, I do have to agree, I played a little bit the story, I have nothing special about that. It's true. It is also true that, unfortunately, the voice acting, it is a narrator that translates everything. Well, that's a good idea in my opinion, because they didn't have to hire tons of voice actors to do the game voices. So it was fine. In my opinion, it is fine. But still, it is something cheap. Alright, so it doesn't feel great in that regard. But I mean, the combat system for me, it is the worst thing. I mean, first of all, it is awesome, and at the same time, it isn't. It is awesome because it seems like these guys just pick up ideas from every single game that we know. They picked up ideas from shooters, from Dark Souls, from Devil May Cry. So you name it, every single game out there, these guys have gone there and grabbed their ideas, their type of gameplay. So, and they kind of mix it all in the same game. Unfortunately, I don't think that creates a pleasant experience, in my opinion, but that depends. You might enjoy this, but in my opinion, it gets confusing. The combat system, it is weird, at least at the beginning, now at the moment, because you can't lock on to enemies. So after playing tons and tons of clones of Dark Souls and Devil May Cry, it is a little bit weird that we can't lock on to characters that we want to attack. So we just have kind of a free movement, and you need to point out with your analog where you want to attack. So usually that isn't very satisfied, because we make tons of mistakes by trying to combat like this without a lock-on stuff, lock-on marker. So yeah, in my opinion, combat gets a little bit weird. Where I think it kind of nails it quite right, it is the mini-boss fights or the boss fights, because it's only one enemy, at least now at the beginning, and the boss that I'm going to show you. So you know exactly where you want to point out and how you want to kill it. Essentially, that's that. I can't have too much of an opinion about this game because I didn't play that much of the game. I just wanted to understand how the game performs, and my recommendation, honestly, it is to use my customizing settings. Again, textures on maximum, effects, shadows, and post-processing at medium, and the rest put it on high. This is what it will grant you the best visual balance between performance and visuals. And also, when it's fixed, I do recommend you to use dynamic resolution scaling, because there are some moments inside the game where it will run under 60 frames per second, and if you do use dynamic resolution scaling, the game will reduce its internal resolution in order to keep the frame rate above 60 frames per second, or lock to 60 frames per second, depending on the frame rate that you choose in game. At the moment, it isn't working properly. What it is happening is, when you apply dynamic resolution scaling in this game and you set, for example, 60 frames per second, the dynamic resolution scaling, it is not doing anything dynamic. It is just applying the lower value of resolution scaling available, whatever if the GPU have overhead for bumping up the resolution or not. So it's broken. I do hope they fix this in a future patch, but for now, this is exactly what you can expect from the performance. So I think that's all that I want to talk about Biomutant. In case you have any single question about this game or the performance, just leave on the comment section of the video. So thank you a lot for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.